This is Boston Chris with ETX Rocks, and you're tuned in to another great episode of ETX Rocks featuring the legendary Whisperin Bill Anderson. From the great state of Texas, this is the latest episode of the ETX ROCKS Show. Nestled in the piney woods of East Texas, the ETX ROCKS Show delivers the stories and songs of talented artists of all genres, all styles, from the unheralded and unheard to the legends and beyond. We bring a passion for music and a drive to go behind the curtain with our guests. We focus on all artists, from LA to New York, Nashville down to Texas, and everywhere in between. ETX is our location, not a limitation. Now, as always, it's viewers and listeners like you out there that are our biggest support for the show. If you want to contribute to the show, please do so by donating to www.paypal.me/ETXRocks, and thank you for tuning in. Wherever you're tuned in, please hit the like, follow, and or subscribe buttons. And now, for another great episode of ETX Rocks.
Hey, this is Louise with the ETX ROCKS Show. Thanks for checking out episode 241 of the ETX ROCKS Show. Our guest today has a big show coming to Tyler, Texas on April 20th at Lullaby Hall. He is easily one of the most prolific songwriters of any genre and any generation, with songs like City Lights, Still, Po Folks, Tips of My Fingers, Whiskey Lullaby, and a lot of things different in his repertoire. Whisperin Bill Anderson has been writing songs since the late 1950s. He has been a member of the Grand Ol Opry since 1961, the Country Music Hall of Fame, the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, and will be inducted this year in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. In this episode, I talk with the icon about his career, his upcoming show in Tyler, and much more. At the beginning of the show, Bill mentions 3 Texas tour dates. The actual concerts are April 19th at the Corsicana Palace in Corsicana, April 20th at the Lullaby Hall in Tyler, and April 21st at Arlington Music Hall in Arlington. Don't miss Bill Anderson on ETX Rocks.
So thanks, guys, for tuning in to the ETX ROCKS Show. I'm your host today, Louise, and I have an amazing guest here, Bill Anderson. Now, Bill, I understand that you're going to be coming to Tyler, Texas on April 20th for a show at Lullaby Hall.
Well, we're actually coming to Texas for 3 days. We're going to be in Tyler on the 19th, in Corsicana on the 20th, and in Arlington on the 21st. And I always enjoy coming to Texas. A lot of good country music fans down there. And it's always fun to see old friends and hopefully make some new ones along the way.
Awesome. Well, we both definitely welcome you to Texas. You definitely have a lot of fans down here. My father is one of those fans. He's a professional steel guitar player, and he's been playing for about 70 years now.
Wow.
So, yes, he's got some connections. He's played with Gene Watson. I'm sorry, let me say that again. He's played with Gene Watson, Bob Wills, Leona Williams, and several more. You know, those people that kind of built the foundation for country music today.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to meeting him while we're down there.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely try to make that happen. So you've had a pretty long career in country music yourself, and I know that back in your earlier days in your career, country music wasn't quite as popular. In fact, it could be really difficult for a country musician, and these days that seems to have changed quite a bit, where it's more accepted, where country music has become much more popular, much more accepted, where a lot more people are getting into the music as well as listening to the music.
Well, you couldn't have told me back in the early days that it wasn't popular, because it was popular in my house. and when I first began to tour and perform and write songs with some of the heroes that I had in the country music business, you know, I thought it was the absolute top of the world. And I guess when you look at it through your rearview mirror, probably today it's a lot bigger and a lot more widely accepted, as you say, than it was back then. But heck, I loved it back then, and I love it today.
Well, did you struggle with that coming from the outside of yourself when it came to just trying to build your career?
Did I struggle with what?
With with people with having difficulty getting into shows, getting your music out there?
No, not really. I mean, I wasn't trying to be anything other than a country music singer and songwriter, and I focused all my attention on the few stations that did play country music, and I didn't worry about the ones that didn't.
And I know that touring was a pretty big part of a music career, and back, several years ago, probably more so than it is now. So what was it like for you in those earlier days of your music touring?
Well, it wasn't very glamorous when you look back on it now. I mean, I had a 4-piece band in the early days. Well, actually, when I first started out, I didn't have a band at all, and then I was able to afford to hire a couple of musicians, and then I got up to a 4-piece band, and we put all of our instruments into the trunk of a car, or we pulled the trailer, or strapped the big bass fiddle to the top of the car, and took off riding down the old 2-lane roads. It was a lot different from the big buses and the interstates and everything today. But I wouldn't take anything for those days. I mean, I learned the hard way. I learned the way of the people that had come before me, and then, of course, as things have evolved over the years, it's become easier. But when you do that 250, 300 days a year like we used to do back in the 60s, you really appreciate the comforts of getting on a tour bus and crawling in a bed and going to sleep, because you didn't sleep a lot in those old cars.
Imagine not. So once you stepped up and got to the point where you could tour with a bus and travel with a lot more ease, that must have been a blessing.
Well, it really was. Even when the old buses broke down, my first bus, I bought it. It probably had 2 million miles on it when I got it.
Wow.
And there were days when, we'd break down along the side of the road, but hey, it was a bus. It was better than being cramped in the car. And, you got a lot of good memories of those days, and you realize how blessed you are to have survived that and to still be out there doing something that you love.
Yeah. Personally, I really want to ask you about your experience with the Grand Ol Opry too. What was it like for you when you got into that circle and that became a big part of your life?
Well, I kind of eased into it. I began doing guest appearances on the Opry back in 1959, if you can believe that. And it was about 2.5 years after that, in the summer of 1961, that they invited me to become a member of the cast. And, of course, the Grand Ol Opry has been a very important part of my life down through the years. I've been there almost 57 years, and I still, every time I walk on that stage, it's kind of like the first time, because it's such a special place. And, of course, people come there from all over the world, and now with the Internet and everything else, people listen to it from all over the world.
Yeah. So did you ever think that you would see the day where people all over the world would be able to see what you're doing and to hear what you're doing?
Well, I guess in a way you always kind of dreamed of that, but I don't think any of us, other than maybe a few select people, understood the possibilities of an Internet and the World Wide Web and all of these things that we have seen come to pass. So I can't say that I ever really saw exactly what was going to happen, but it sure is fun to walk on that stage now and know that people are listening in Australia, and they're listening in the Far East, and they're listening in Europe and places like that. It's a pretty amazing feeling.
Well, you have spent a long, full life in the music business, even being on television as well. So you've stayed pretty busy. What drives you to continue to work so hard, even to this day?
I guess because I love it. I'm one of those people that gets up every morning and looks forward to going to work. And my work is kind of my hobby. I love what I do. I love writing songs. I love playing music. I love going out and meeting the people. I love performing at the Grand Ol Opry. And I think when you really enjoy what you do, you don't work a day in your life. You've heard that old expression, and it's really true, because if you love what you do, it's not work. I'm not saying everything I do is fun or pleasurable, but by and large, I love what I do, and I think as long as I do that, and the good Lord blesses me with the health to continue to do it, I probably will.
Well, that's awesome, and I know that your fans are definitely looking forward to every new appearance, every new performance.
Well, I've been very blessed. I have never had the most fans of anybody in country music, but I sure have had some of the most loyal and some of the best ones. I've got people that have been following me for virtually my entire career, and it's a great honor. The country music fans are the most loyal people in the world. These my fans have been, and I continue to treasure and appreciate every single one of them.
You definitely give them a reason to be loyal. I mean, your career has been full of so many amazing songs, so many awesome performances, both on the Grand Ol Opry, and then you've got the work that you've done in television. Speaking of that, why did you decide to kind of cross over and get on a few other shows?
Well, actually, I look better on the radio, but television has been a big part of my life from the very beginning. When I was first starting out as a kid down in Atlanta, and I had a little hillbilly band made up of a bunch of my buddies from high school, we performed every time anybody would turn a TV camera on and pointed in our direction. Talent shows, openings of supermarkets or car lots or whatever, we were there to play. And television has always been a big part of my career. I started a syndicated show back in 1965 that ran for 9 years, where I had just a music show that played in most cities on Saturday afternoons or Saturday nights, very similar to the shows that Porter Wagner and the Wilburn Brothers and other people had. And then I got on into doing television at the Grand Ol Opry with a show called Backstage at the Grand Ol Opry. And then before you knew it, I was out in California hosting game shows on television and appearing on soap operas up in New York. And I don't know, it just became a big part of my life. And I've always enjoyed it, and it always amazes me anytime you stick your face in front of a TV camera how many people are watching. You never know until you get back home and and you start hearing from them. A lot of people watch television.
Well, was it a struggle for you during those days, juggling the television shows, even the ones that were not centered with music, and maintaining a music career? I mean, continuing to write and perform?
Well, it was, and something had to kind of suffer and give away. And the thing that I kind of put on the back burner for about 10 years was my songwriting. And sadly, I wish I hadn't have done that, but being able to come back after that was all over and get back into songwriting has been a big part of my life. But it was tough to juggle it. I'd fly out to California on a Monday and take television shows all day Tuesday and Wednesday. Get on a plane and fly back east somewhere and do concerts on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and get back on that plane, go back to California. I mean, it was not recreation. It was hard work, but again, I've always enjoyed what I do, and I enjoyed doing the game shows and the soap operas. It wasn't exactly what I started out to do, and I got into it kind of accidentally, but I always enjoyed it.
With all of these different facets of your career that you've had, you know, the songwriting, television appearances, performing, and even writing books, what would you like to be remembered for the most?
Well, I'd just like to be remembered. I think if there's one thing in my career that I will be remembered for above everything else, I think it'll be my songwriting. That's kind of what got me into the business to start with, and songs last a lot longer than performances do, and hopefully somewhere along after I'm gone, somebody will dig out one of my old songs and say, hey, that's pretty good. I believe I'll record that, if they're still recording in those days. You don't know what kind of technology will come down the line. But if I'm remembered for anything, it'll be for my songs. And I hope maybe somewhere along the way somebody will say, hey, he was a pretty good human being too.
Most definitely. I mean, your music has touched so many people for so many years, and that's something that can never be taken away. It may not be something that you can see on paper, that you can, you know, view and see, you know, kind of get that accomplishment directly, but just definitely so many lives have been affected because music affects people all the way to their soul. You know, you just never know when a song of yours is going to touch somebody and maybe change the way they think or the way they feel about a situation.
You're right, and I had that come home to me in the last couple of weeks. I wrote a song back early in my career that you probably never heard, and I doubt very many people listening have ever heard, unless somebody's listening in the UK or Great Britain or England or whatever you want to call it over there. I wrote a song called Happiness, and it never was a big hit in the States. In fact, I recorded it, but it wasn't even released as a single record. But it found its way to Great Britain, and a very popular comedian and singer over there by the name of Ken Dodd recorded the song Happiness, and it became a monster hit over in that part of the world, and it kind of became Ken Dodd's theme song. And down through the years, I would go to England to tour, and people would want to hear my version of the song Happiness because it was so well known over there. Well, Ken Dodd passed away a couple of weeks ago at the age of 90. And he continued to perform my song Happiness everywhere he went, and he adopted it as kind of his signature song and theme song because he was a happy guy. He was a comedian. He made people laugh. And I've gotten emails and letters from people in Great Britain since he passed away that said that the choir sang my song Happiness at Ken Dodd's funeral service. The person who eulogized him talked about all the happiness that Ken Dodd spread around that part of the world. And they said even people who were unable to get into the cathedral in Liverpool for his funeral service, that they stood outside on the sidewalks and sang my song Happiness. Now, you talk about touching people. That really brings it home as to how music can touch people, and not just the people next door, but the people on the other side of the world.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's so true, you know, that you never know when a song, just some lyrics in a song can, you know, turn someone's day around and give them some hope and give them.
Well, I've got a new song coming out on video the middle part of April called Until the Light Comes On Again, and it is written for a lady in my life who's very special who was recently diagnosed with cancer. And I wanted to write something kind of hopeful for her and something to encourage her. And then after I wrote the song, I realized that it's not only designed to encourage her, but it can encourage a lot of other people. And I hope people will watch this video when it is released, and maybe they'll get some hope and all from that. So music is a very, very powerful thing. And the longer I'm in it, the more I realize just how powerful it really is in touching lives.
Well, if you had any advice that you could wrap up in one simple statement to the current guys and gals that are putting their music out there, putting their songs out there in this crazy industry, the music industry, what advice would you give them?
Well, I could give them advice on several different fronts, but I tell you, if we had to narrow it down to one thing, I would tell them to enjoy it, because I spent a large part of my career having hit records and not enjoying it for worrying about, gee, will I ever have another hit record? I remember driving to a recording session one time, and I had the number one record in the country, and I was headed to the studio to try and record a song to follow it up with. And I was so uptight in the car. I was so worried. I was not enjoying the fact that my song was playing on the radio as I drove down the road, that it was the number one record, because I was so worried about recording the next one. And if I had some advice to give to people, and I've shared this with a lot of the young singers and writers, man, enjoy the day. Enjoy the moment. If you've got a hit, if you're being successful, people are coming to your shows, don't worry about tomorrow. Enjoy today and soak it all up and let it just seep into every fiber of your being. Enjoy it, because for most of us, it's a short-lived thing. I mean, we all go through the years of being on the radio, and then we face the fact that young artists come along and take our place and move forward. So enjoy the moment, have fun, it's a fun business, and if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this insight with us. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss?
Well, I don't have anything I'm plugging right at the moment. I will have a new record out this year, a new album. I've just finished recording it. It's going to have the very creative title of Anderson. I've had records called Bill, and I've had records called Whisperin Bill. Never had one called Anderson, but that's what the name of my new record's going to be. It'll be out later this year. And like I say, I'm still performing at the Opry. I'm still touring. I've got a new book out on the market you can check out. Anybody that wants to find out any more about Bill Anderson and his life and career can go to my website at billanderson.com, because it's all there. And I just appreciate you allowing me to visit with your listeners here for a while, and hopefully we'll see lots of them in person in the days to come.
Most definitely, and thank you so much.
So guys, make sure you're following along with Bill Anderson and everything he's got going on. The best way to do that is his website, www.billanderson.com. You can also check him out during his Texas tour dates. Those three again are April 19th at the Corsicana Palace in Corsicana, the 20th at the Lullaby Hall in Tyler, and April 21st at Arlington Music Hall in Arlington. Don't forget, Bill has a brand new music video coming out in mid-April, Until the Light Comes On Again. And then his album titled Anderson is coming out later this year too. If you're tuned in to ETX Rocks for the first time, we can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's at ETX Rocks. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, please. And also hit the like button if you enjoy what you're seeing. When you subscribe to us, it not only helps us get higher up in the algorithms of YouTube, where we can be seen more often, which means that our guests can be seen more, they get more exposure. But it also helps you out, because when you subscribe to us, then you get immediate notification as soon as a new episode drops or a new video is brought out. If you would like to contribute financially, we are completely self-funded. You can do that. We have a donation link set up at www.paypal.me/ETXRocks. And we would really appreciate that. Any donation that you send to us goes right back into upgrading our equipment, taking care of our guests, making sure that their needs are met, being able to do on-site interviews if necessary, and things of that sort. Every bit goes right back into making this show what it is. As always, we want to thank you for supporting live music of all genres, all styles, and don't ever forget, Bill?
ETX Rocks.
Howdy folks, this is Aaron Watson.
This is Bree Bagwell.
This is Jake. And this is Walter from Rocky Queen.
This is Curtis Grimes.
Monty Pittman.
This is Doug Supernon.
I'm Heather Little.
This is Rob Redwine.
Ho! Hey folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Hey guys, I'm Katie Lynn, and make sure to tune in to ETX Rocks with
Boston Chris.
Hello, y'all. This is Ronnie Millsap, and thanks for tuning in to the ETX ROCKS Show.
Tough guy. Ho!
Hey guys, we're Blacktop Mojo, and thank you for tuning in to ETX Rocks.